back to 7Anubis Aquatics, and today I'd like to kind of go over a tank build that I'm doing. It's a 40-gallon rimless, pretty exciting tank. It's the first time I've used a large piece of spiky wood to have almost more out of the tank than in the tank. Anyway, let's go take a look. Okay, so here's the tank that I was telling you about. Rimless, all very decent glass, decent aquarium. I picked up at a place called Aqua Rocks out of Commerce City, Colorado, which is like a suburb of Denver. Wonderful looking tank. The glass is very nice. I wouldn't say it's an 88 type tank. It's not that expensive, but it's a nice happy medium. I have a lot of rim tanks, honestly, so I've been doing aquariums and aquascaping for, I don't know, gosh, probably longer than I really want to admit. Probably about 35 years in total, maybe a little bit longer even. Yeah, probably closer to 40. But, you know, over time you learn a lot of little things, and some of it just becomes second nature. But one of the reasons I want to keep doing these videos for 7Anubis Aquatics is really for you guys. To pick up on the little things that maybe you just didn't consider, or give you new ideas, and I get to show off some of the work that I do, and I really enjoy doing that. So anyway, here's the tank, and we'll go into a little bit more explanation on a close-up view. Alright, so here's a up-close look at the tank, and the build that we're going to do is going to start essentially getting some plants in here. We'll do some movement of all these rocks. As I mentioned before, I kind of just threw this thing together because I wanted to see how the wood actually looked in here. And then I thought, well, the wood really looks pretty blank. Do I want to put Anubias on it? Do I want to put some other kind of epiphyte? Not really sure. But I wanted to get started anyway, so I thought, well, let's get this philodendron in here and see how they do. And then later, because I just think an empty tank is just the worst thing ever, I was at a great shop in Denver about a week and a half ago and got these great looking jumbo Cardinals. Look fantastic, although I think I need about 3 times as many. I think we have 7 right now. And a lot of the rock that you see in here is actually rip rock, or rip rap anyway, which is kind of like a stone that you would use for landscaping projects, right? Some of the stones actually came from a landscaping place as well. I hear a lot about, you know, don't use stones unless they're, you know, cerulean stone. That's really super expensive for aquascaping. I find that to be not necessarily true. There's some vinegar tests you can do for rocks if you're worried about them, but as long as you're not using some kind of heavy salt-based stones, I'm finding that a lot of people are just really trying to make money on the aquarium or aquascaping enthusiasts by telling you that you don't have to use certain kind of rocks. That's not true. The large piece in the middle here, I am really starting to like the way that the philodendron roots are going down through. For those of you who don't do immersed plants, I would consider, or I would actually, recommend, wow. I would recommend that you try to incorporate some, right? They are great for removing nitrates from your water system, right? And working with other plants. Plus, I just think they look fantastic coming down through the way that they naturally go through the crevices in the wood and kind of come down. And, you know, if you don't want them really hanging all over the place, there's nothing wrong with just snipping the roots like you would in a regular aquascape. And we'll do a little bit of that as well. Alright, so we've got a nice little chunk there. And you can see if you just kind of tease it apart a little bit. So you'll see, so this is actually part of one big thing, but Bacopa is really kind of almost like a philodendron in a way, where it just shoots a lot of roots out all over the darn place, right? Which is great for, you know, see, there you go. Now it kind of just falls apart, right? I grow them with all the roots, so they should maintain a little better. With this particular one, I'm going to just kind of cut some of this root material off, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to get in here to the tank and start doing a little placement. Now you can see that bulb that I was talking about, right? Not a big deal. We'll get a nice water change once we get this in here, but the nutrients that are provided by the mulch seem to actually help the plants quite a bit. Like I was saying, sleeve rolled up here. Now I can already see that, you know, the fill's got some extra roots back here. We're just going to go ahead and snip those off. All right, let's get that out of the way. Now, aquascaping is very much an eye of the beholder type of thing, right? We all know what something pretty looks like. However, you know, your choice on exactly how this goes is really up to you, right? So I'm going to just start kind of placing this in, cutting it in, putting the Bacopa in. Which may seem a little willy-nilly, but once you have the plant, the tank how you kind of want it, then we can go through and start snipping pieces, right, or creating new ones. It's pretty proliferous, right? And sometimes, like I said, you can't really tell the difference between the bottom and the top, right? We know that this one is because we cut it, so we're just going to start placing this in here. I just kind of run it down with my finger, right? Create a little pocket, a little hole. And kind of push it back in. Pretend you're almost doing something like planting tomato plants or something, right? You can also do it the old, you know, whole ADA way if you want to. It's just not necessary, but if you like using your tweezers, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I find it kind of tedious, honestly. So usually what I try to do is get all the roots kind of put into one spot, kind of like this, right? Okay. And then we have a little extra root material up here at the top. We're just going to kind of set that off. Let the plant grow out that way. So you got this nice little bundle. Just kind of push with your fingers first, make a little scoop, push it in. Push back in with the rocks, and away you go. It's nothing earth-shattering here, but you do see people ask a lot of questions. Well, how do you actually plant those? Well, just plant them. It's really not that big a deal. You also have the option of kind of just taking this and putting it into a little ball, like get all the root parts into one little section, right? Now, just so you guys get it, I did pre-rinse this in the sink just to get some little bits of wood and dirt off there, right? So you'll see a little bit of black in there. That's not rot or anything like that. It's just little pieces of soil material from how I've grown them out, right? Alright, so that one just kind of popped up. Let's put this one back down. Alright. So aquascaping is kind of like a thing as you go, right? We'll clean up all this extra stuff in a little bit. So there's a big chunk of long stuff right there, but you can't even really pick it up. It's like a very fine, almost dirt-like material, right? Alright, let's get another bunch in here in the back. It's not exactly cooperating with me, of course. Now that we're doing it on video, but
if you had used your tweezers, it would have been fine.
Alright, so you also want to go by the height, right? So we know that that one's too tall already. Let's just take it and we'll stick it in here. Now you can already see that the stones we have here are kind of kicked all over the place, so we're going to rearrange these as we go. Now, I've got quite a bit of Bacopa in here today. God's honest truth is we probably don't need all of this today, but we're going to incorporate at least another large bundle of it. I like to have planted tanks have as many plants as you possibly can. Plants are fairly easy to maintain. Let's not pretend that they're like your dog or anything else, right? So you tease that apart a little bit. Plants grow pretty much on their own, right? Give them the right conditions and the plant will just do all the work for you. That's why I like plants. We're going to cut off a little bit of this material with our scissors. You got a couple little pieces there that fell off, that's okay. So now we'll kind of tease this around the way we want it. We're going to really fill this corner in with some really nicely rooted Bacopa. Don't feel like you can't take a little bit of rock from your aquarium for the time being. Kind of put that on there a little bit. And like I said, now we're going to get a little cloudy. I probably should have done a quick water change prior to the video, but I really wanted to show you how the mulm is in here. And then I'll take video of it in a couple hours when it settles down a little bit. And show you that it's really not all that bad. But we'll do a nice water change once the plants are in. Call it what you will. I've found that like I said, the nutrients and the decaying matter seems to help out the plants almost like a fertilizer, right? Okay, so that's starting to already look a little bit better. Let's jam this guy back down in here a little bit. And then you can, in this case, we have this little riprap rock. And we'll just be able to hide some of these roots. They're kind of jagged and sticking up, right? We've got a fair amount of root actually in already in the aqua soil, which is, like I said, kind of this gravel material. It's a little hard to tell you how it feels in video, but it's very tiny. What really is probably a little black lava stone of some kind. There's a little snail buddy. I do have a few ram's horns in here. The inevitable snail, whether you really want them or not. They're here to stay. Another really long one here. Nothing really wrong with that either. It can drape over the top of your tank if you wish. Just not the look I was going for with this one. You know, there should be a nice flow to your Aquascape though, right? You don't need to have these random things all over the place, right? So, but like I said, it's all eye of the beholder. I've seen some award-winning tanks that I thought were actually, I don't know, pretty mediocre. And then I've seen some, not sure what to do with that little piece of wood yet, we're just going to stick that back there. And I've seen some tanks that are really fantastic, but wouldn't win an award anywhere, right? Sometimes it's based on your mood. Sometimes it's just the flavor of the day. What does it feel like to you? That's kind of the fun part about aquascaping as well, because you can look at it one day and go, oh, that looks fantastic, and the next day you walk by and you're like, oh, that's just not quite right. So fine-tuning is a part of all of this as well. All right, now I'm going to go get more plants. Okay, up next is going to be some red Anotherum. Fantastic looking red plant, really like it a lot. I also grow this one out in my plant room. The more I say that, the more I realize that I really need to have that video. Anyway, this is a really nice sluggable plant. You can kind of, it's a stem plant, so it needs to be in the soil. However, it grows pretty quick, right? But it also does pretty well with a good trim, right? So you can use it as a foreground plant almost, right? Like I said, it grows really well, but it also kind of bunches up into these little bunches like this, right? So almost like you would have if you had bought it in a cup, right? Or you got it from your plant store. They'll get a fair amount of roots. You can take your scissors. Let's separate this little thing. You know, like growing these yourself. Yes, you're going to have to do your initial purchase at one of your favorite stores. But once you've grown this yourself, I mean, this cup, this here alone is probably a, I don't know, $12 cup, right? And I'm doing this for basically for free because I've grown the plants myself. I'm going to try to use this as essentially a red foreground. This plant is a little touchy though. I've had pretty good luck not using CO2 and maintaining the red color on these plants. They will turn a little bit brown, but if you keep up your fertilizers and the rest, they'll be just fine. So now you can see the difference, right? There's some really small ones, but this guy here is kind of a monster, right? So we're going to cut this guy up just a little bit. See? Bam, bam. Easy to place. No problems. This one is really long though, I think. That's a gorgeous looking bunch right there. Which I really honestly don't want to break up too much. I think we're going to just try to get this guy dropped into this corner so that we have a little spot for him right here. Which may honestly just not be quite deep enough. So let's get a little bit more going here. I don't think you have to maintain the level of your soil all the way, all the time, right? You're in the middle of planting. Oh yeah, that's going to look sharp right there. Okay. So we're going to get these roots covered up just a little bit, grab some soil from the other part of your tank. Now these guys will get tall, like I said, so we will end up having to trim this up. But we'll give it a week or so for everybody to kind of gel up. We have one more little spot in here. We'll try to jam this into the corner. Now I didn't get all the plants, of course, for this tank that I want yet. Just some of them, actually 3 new kinds. So once I decide what other plants I want, that's the other thing. There's no rush on any of this, right? The guys that show you this 10-minute video, right, on how they did their aquascape, I mean, they're nice, and it does give you some ideas, and I've got some great info from some of these guys in the past, right? But the reality is that this stuff sometimes takes weeks, months, maybe even for some guys, years, right? All right, so there's the anthurium. Starting to already look really nice over here. And we will, let me take a step back. Yeah, looking better. We got some cloudy stuff going here. Maybe we can get this guy right here over just a touch. All right, I got one more kind of plant to go get. Be right back. All right, the last plant we're going to do today is the Red Star Luigia. Which I think you can kind of see from this view. We'll get a nice close-up shot here in a minute. It's another stem plant. It's a little bit long, can go as long as you want it to go. But much like the anthera, you can trim this up and maintain certain heights, whatever you want to do. I think I'm going to put this on this back wall back here, just to the left of the, or the right of the large piece of wood. So we'll get this all lined up here and get put in. And much like the other two, I do grow this one as well. All of my plants are available on 7Anubis Aquatics.com. I'm really enjoying how the philodendron goes back here into the soil looking for nutrients. It's amazing how plants will just do that all on their own. Anyway, this red star Ludwigia is a really sharp plant. Grows really well also in a oxygenated environment like in a tub. Like I said, we'll have another video on how I grow my aquatic plants out in our plant room. Anyhow, these are the ones for today. I'll let this settle and take another little shot here in a minute. But I think that looks pretty sharp. Take a step back here, get our little fish towel. I've got fish towels in my house and dog towels in my house and any kind of animal we have. So we're not done with this tank by any stretch, but now we have 4 varieties of plants in here if you count the philodendron. And I think it's looking pretty sharp so far. Oops. Alright, so I fiddled around with the plants just a little bit more. Starting to fill in nicely. Bacopa looks a little jungly right now, but it'll settle down and we'll get some trim in there to make it look even. Or maybe we just leave it that way. I also added some Busa philandra to the base here just to give it a little more green. I think that looks nice with the roots from the philodendron. And then we'll pan over here to our section with the rotala in the back, our beautiful cardinals. Now we just have to find some more plants. But I think I have a solution. Alright, I think we got the last of the plants we're going to put in. I added some into the foreground. Some nice looking stuff in there, some needle leaf, and then we have some pagostemon I put into the right hand corner. So this has been a culmination of probably a couple of weeks of adding some plants. You know, YouTube kind of gives you the impression that this is all done in 1 minute, you know, or just 10 minutes on your video or whatever, right? But usually this is a slow thinking process, move some stuff around. You can see that things have changed just a little bit, but I think at this point I'm going to let it grow and we'll see how it progresses. But I think we have a pretty fantastic looking product right now.
the